everyone, Rosie here, yet another reading vlog, but this one, a kind of different style. I'm about to sit down and start reading my first ever horror novel. I know I've made it to 25 years old and I've never read a horror book and I've never seen a horror movie, but I thought if Halloween isn't the time to give it a try, when is? I'm going to be reading The Visitors by Catherin, which is, I think, about a very sheltered middle-aged woman who's lived with her brother in like her family home for her entire life, and she tries to ignore what happens in the basement, but then something happens to her brother and she has to sort of confront whatever it is that's in their basement. So that sounds kind of scary. That sounds exciting. I'm going to dive in. I don't know what this is gonna be like. Maybe I'm gonna be terrified. I told myself I wasn't going to read it after dark, but then, you know, life happens and I plan to start this video on a bake-off day, so I was like, crap, I can't start reading my book until I've seen the new episode of Bake Off. It's after dark, but I've got a nice cup of hot chocolate with some whipped cream that's rapidly melting into the surface, and I'm gonna get cozy and get started on this. I'm about 15% in, I think. I just read 4 chapters. So far, it's not too scary. So far, we've just mostly been meeting the main character, Marion, who I don't want to play armchair psychologist, but definitely has some issues with the fact that like everyone in her life ever has abused or bullied her. And also I think has some sort of undiagnosed mental health issues. Like there's definitely some anxiety going on and some hoarding and like, I don't know what exactly the situation is. Basically she's like a recluse who doesn't leave the house and hasn't since she was a teenager basically, I think. I mean, she goes out to like the store and stuff, but she has no social life or friends or job. She just like stays home. And she has a mysterious brother, John, who's honestly horrible and abusive to her, and also seems to be keeping people in the basement. That's the vibe I'm getting so far. But there's also some implication that maybe Marion isn't as innocent as she seems. I don't know yet. I actually really want to keep reading right now, but I want to edit a video tonight, so I'm gonna stop there. And also I think it's probably a good idea to stop before I go to bed, because I'm the type of person who, if I'm lying there trying to read this before I go to sleep, I'm just gonna be like, no, I need to know more. I need to know more. I need to know what happens next. And I'll just like, you know, keep reading until I'm done, which is not a good idea when I have work tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna pause here. What did I say I wasn't gonna do? Read a horror book before bed? What am I doing? Reading a horror book before bed, but so far it's not that scary, so I don't think it's gonna give me nightmares, not tonight at least. I'm 13 chapters in now, and I'm not sure if things have really even kicked off. Like, it's only 24 chapters long. I'm 40% of the way into the book according to my Kindle, but I feel like I'm still waiting for things to get started. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying it. It's interesting. It's kind of awful to read about how horribly this poor woman has been treated her entire life, and kind of disgusting to think about her living in the same house as her brother all this time, who seems like a truly, truly awful person in every sense of the word. But other than like vague hints, or not even hints exactly, it seems, to me at least so far, pretty clearly established there's something super fucked up going on in this basement that she's just ignoring, which like makes sense with her character. She's very naive and like anxious and timid and doesn't want to get involved in anything or disrupt anything. But like, I thought something more would have happened by now. Maybe I'm just not used to this genre. Maybe it wouldn't make sense if things kicked off too early. I'm now 19 chapters into this book, so I've got 5 chapters left, but I'm only 55% of the way into the book, so there's something kind of weird about the pacing, I think. I don't know what's up with it exactly. It just feels like things are moving at strange paces, and I feel like the last 5 chapters must be significantly longer than all the others, which I'm not opposed to having certain chapters be longer than others. They don't all need to be, you know, exactly 10 minutes long or exactly 20 pages or whatever. It just feels weird to have it so concentrated on the back half of the book, so I don't know what's going to happen when I read the rest of it. I feel like at this point I'll probably just finish it tomorrow because I want to know where this goes. Even though it's still really slow, we're still in all of the events that were on the blurb. I'm still engaged and I still want to keep reading it, and I still like want to know what happens next. It's weird. There've been books that I've loved way more and been way more interested in, but because of the writing and the way it was paced, I never really want to read more than 2 or 3 chapters at a time before I want to go switch to something else. Whereas this one, even when I'm not super engaged with the writing or super engaged with the plot, I definitely feel that urge to like just one more chapter, just one more. So that's interesting. Feature of the genre, I guess. I guess right now it's all in the wrap-up. The wrap-up and how, or not even the wrap-up, because the plot's barely started. These last chapters are going to be really critical. I feel like it could tip to 5-star or it could tip to 3-star, and I don't know at this point. I've just read another 2 chapters, so only 3 chapters left now. And we've just gotten to the point where, like, the blurb ended, if that makes sense. So maybe these last 3 chapters are going to be spectacular and I'm going to be mind blown and like terrified. Yeah, have some sort of like, wow, that was actually really good. But on the whole, I'm just feeling like this wasn't a good choice for my first horror/thriller book. I'm neither horrified nor thrilled. Like, it's an engaging story, but honestly, everything that's happened so far are things that I could have deduced from the blurb. There has not been anything yet where I'm surprised or not expecting what's going on. I had to take a break from reading just there because I was having Zoom family dinner with my parents and my sister, which was lovely. But afterwards I thought, okay, I've got 3 chapters left. I just want to know what's going to happen with this. And I just continue to be disappointed. There's definitely things that happen in the 3 chapters. A lot more happens in the last 3 chapters, frankly, than happens in the entire rest of the book. But it's still nothing particularly interesting. All the way to the end of the book, nothing happened that I would not have inferred from the blurb. I was really hoping that because I don't usually read horror and I don't really usually read thrillers, that this was going to be cool and maybe it was going to be really scary and like that was going to be a new thing that I'm not used to getting from books, or maybe this was going to be really like suspenseful and I'd spend the whole time thinking about like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next, oh my god, what's going to happen, what's this implying? But there was none of that. One way to sum this up is that if I read about the events of this book in a newspaper, which I've read about similar events in the newspaper, I'm horrified. I feel sick to my stomach. I'm, just, it feels awful. And you feel so terrible, and that's impactful. In this book, it just wasn't. I was reading about these similar things, but I was having no emotional response to them, and there was no sense of at all. It was just, yeah, this is fucked up, this is disgusting, this is horrible, these are terrible people, but it didn't evoke any sort of reaction or emotional response at all. In talking about it with my partner, actually, he pointed out something really, really true that I hadn't thought about, but is absolutely the case in this book. In any horror that I've been exposed to before, which, to be fair, is limited, the horror isn't from necessarily the things that are happening, it's the not knowing and the suspense and the lead up towards what's going on. It's like that classic quote that, like, the monster you imagine in your head is way more terrifying than the monster that anyone can actually put on a page or a screen. In this book, it's clear what's going on from the beginning, so there's no sense of mounting horror. We don't start with a normal household and slowly have things get strange. It's very clear from the first chapter what's going on, so you're just waiting to see how it's going to play out. When you read how it plays out over 24 chapters, it just loses that impact. I did a quick scan on Goodreads to see what other people said about this book, and it seems kind of divided. I saw someone call it very dark, very disturbing, and I don't think I'm a particularly fucked up person, but like, this was not particularly dark or disturbing. It obviously had dark and disturbing elements to it, and like things that were horrifying, but it wasn't a horrifying book. And even as someone who doesn't watch horror movies, doesn't really watch thriller movies, doesn't read horror books, doesn't read thriller books, there was nothing in this that made me go, wow, that's far out, or wow, that's creepy. I'm definitely in the not horrifying, just meh camp. I saw a lot of reviews along those lines too. They're just like, it's fine. It just really doesn't do much. Because you know what you're going towards. There's no sense of, oh my god, what is the reveal gonna be? It's just, how is the reveal going to be managed? Unfortunately, it just did not live up to expectations. Ordinarily, for me, a book about like this would probably be a 3-star book. I'm very generous in my rating. Most books I read are 4 or 5 stars because I tend to pick books that I like. I look for reasons to not give them stars as opposed to needing to justify giving them stars, if that makes sense. But I think because this one says it's a horror, it says it's a thriller, it's marketed as that, the blurb on the back makes it sound like it's going to be dark and disturbing and suspenseful, I think I'm going to give it a 2 stars because it just wasn't any of those things. I feel like this really wasn't a good introduction to the genre probably, and I'm going to have to go back and try something else in the horror thriller area at some point. If you've got recommendations for horror or thriller books that I should read, please leave them down below, because now that I've read this one, I actually want to read more and see, like, is this an outlier or is it just not the genre for me? I don't think I can make that decision off one book, but yeah, this was definitely not the right book to start with. If any of you have read this, let me know down below. What did you think? Did you like it? Was it what you expected from a horror thriller? I feel like this has been a bit of a letdown. I was really hoping this would be an interesting vlog because I was, yeah, hoping that it would be scary or suspenseful or something. And it just wasn't, but if, despite that, you've liked this video, please hit the like button down below, and if you'd like to follow my videos and see more books that I read, hopefully that I like a lot better than this one, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.